On November 2nd, 2014, the Discovery Channel announced their newest special event, Mega Week. A whole week dedicated to supersized episodes of your favorite shows. It all kicks off on Sunday night on December 7th, 2014, with a TV special you won't want to miss. A group of researchers are going deep into the Peruvian jungle to find and capture a snake. And once they find it, one of them is going to do the unimaginable.
We're gonna get in the inside of a snake.
But before we talk about that, we need to go back to the beginning, and it all began with a man by the name of Paul Rosolie.
So who is Paul Rosolie? Well, he's an animal researcher, environmentalist, naturalist, and wildlife conservationist. At a young age, he had dreams of protecting the declining rainforest and the endangered inhabitants that live within. It must have had quite an impression on him, because he would dedicate his entire life to spreading awareness about the rainforest. From writing numerous articles for news outlets, appearing on talk shows all over the world, he would write his own book about his experience in the rainforest, and even direct a short film, which he won an award for. He was determined to do anything to spread awareness for protecting the rainforest. But it wasn't enough. He wanted to do so much more for the environment. But what more could he do to spread awareness? It's a hard thing to talk about, because when it comes to spreading awareness about the environment, you're pretty much preaching to the choir. That's a direct quote by Paul, by the way. So what could he possibly do? Make a documentary showing the importance of the rainforest and its impact on the world? No, there's plenty of those. A depressing slideshow that illustrates mankind's broken connection with the rainforest? No, there's plenty of those too. Paul needs to do something different, something unique, something that will get everyone's attention. But then, he remembers something. An expedition he did a few years ago, and the snake that got away. In 2008, Paul and a team of researchers went into the Peruvian jungle to an uncharted place known as the floating forest. While there, he and his team found a green anaconda. This anaconda, which Paul would later nickname Chumana, was estimated to be 25 feet in length. The biggest anaconda they, and possibly the world, has ever seen. Paul and his team would try to capture the snake to conduct research on it, but the snake was too much for him and his team. Chumana managed to overpower all of them, and slithered away into the waters of the floating forest, never to be seen again. Paul knew what he was going to do. After many years, he was going to go back to the floating forest and find Chumana. And when he does, he's going to don a special suit and then get the snake to eat him on national television, thereby spreading awareness about the rainforest.
What?
Okay, I know it sounds strange, but just hear him out. The reasoning behind Paul's stunt was this. He has seen firsthand the destruction of the rainforest and its impact on the inhabitants within. But if he can show everyone the power of some of these creatures, then maybe we can get a better understanding of them and their environment. Thereby, with this understanding, people will want to help protect them. Also, it's shocking. I mean, come on, a TV special where a man puts his own life on the line to get eaten by a snake? It's hard not to get attention with something like that.
I want to do something that's just going to grab people's attention.
So Paul went to the Discovery Channel with his idea, and they gave him the opportunity to go back and find Chumana. A commercial for the special was released, and the hype began. But so too did the controversy. Not surprisingly, people were not too thrilled with Paul's stunt of becoming a snake's lunch, majority of which were from researchers and animal rights groups. Many would reach out to the Discovery Channel demanding that this special not air on TV, claiming that it was a gratuitous act of animal cruelty for shock views and ratings. Even a petition was made on change.org, which garnered over 38,000 signatures. Paul would do his best to dwell the flames of the controversy towards him, but it wasn't enough. Controversy was still coming his way, and so too were the questions. Let's say he does get swallowed by the snake. How's he going to get out? Well, there's only one way. He would have to be regurgitated. But what if the snake doesn't regurgitate him? Would they have to cut it open to save him, inevitably killing the snake in the process? What if the snake dies in the process of swallowing Paul? There have been accounts of snakes splitting open after swallowing prey that was too big for them. The likelihood of it happening here is plausible. But also, is it even possible for a snake to swallow a human? Side note, has a human ever been swallowed by a snake before?
This better make me famous.
There have been numerous stories throughout history of people getting eaten by snakes, but most of these stories have either ended up being myths, hoaxes, or couldn't be confirmed. But there are 4 confirmed cases of snakes eating people. There was an instance in Malaysia in 1995 where a man was partially swallowed by a snake. Another instance in Indonesia in 2017 where a man was fully swallowed by a snake. A woman from Indonesia was swallowed the following year, and then another woman from Indonesia was swallowed recently in 2022. However, not only did most of these happen after the special aired, in all 4 cases, the victims were swallowed by pythons, not anacondas. In fact, there is no confirmed case of an anaconda swallowing a person whole. But is it even possible for an anaconda to swallow a person whole? Yes? Question mark? It's theoretically possible. The anaconda would have to be over 20 feet in length, but also have a mouth that's wide enough to get past the person's shoulders. A 25-foot snake like Chumana could theoretically do so. That is, if they can find it. So, a person has never been swallowed by an anaconda before. But Paul Rosolie intends to be the first one to do so, but also live to tell the tale. And despite all the controversy that came towards him and the network, it was still on schedule to air. And soon, all our questions will be answered.
Real quick, how'd you get out? They don't tell you how the tightrope walker, makes it across. You got to watch on Sunday.
Okay, Paul, it's bizarre.
It's Sunday night, December 7th, 2014. Mega Week is about to begin, and we're about to see a first on television. The special began that night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It started off pretty simple, with Paul and his team going to the floating forest while giving a brief summary. They went over who Paul Rosolie was, his story and search for Chumana, what he intends to do when he finds it, the biology of snakes, history of big snakes, information about the floating forest, etc., etc. His team consisted of biologists, scientists, herpetologists, and wildlife conservationists. Some of them were friends of Paul that he's had since childhood, and one of them was even his wife. After introducing everyone and giving brief summaries, they make it to the jungle, which they have to traverse to get to the floating forest. Because, let me remind you, Paul saw Chumana 6 years prior to the special, so they don't know where she is, they just have a general idea where she could be. While going through the jungle, they encounter many obstacles along the way, such as electric eels,
Like an electric eel right near here.
alligators,
Big black caiman.
wasps, poisonous spiders,
The Brazilian wandering spider?
and nematodes?
Nematodes.
Dang, nematodes!
And even though it was a bit overly dramatic, it was pretty entertaining. But of course, it's not what we're here for. Eventually, they finally make it to the floating forest, and the search for Chumana can begin. They set up camera traps, snake traps, motion sensor cameras, and even use a drone to find Chumana. And from there, it was just searching. They searched the rivers and the forest floor for any sign of Chumana, all the while live tweets from people watching the show displayed on screen. At some point, Paul managed to find a giant track left behind from an anaconda, meaning the beast that they are looking for must be near. It might not seem like it, but at this point the special had been going on for a little over an hour, and within that hour, they found a few anacondas of various length, but none of them were even close to being the length of the snake that they were looking for. Chumana still hasn't been found at this point, and no one has been eaten. They continue their search until
We have an anaconda.
they found a snake on the drone's camera, basking in the sun near the river. They tried to get a better look at the snake, but ended up spooking it, causing it to dive into the river. But Paul isn't going to let it get away. He made the decision to dive after it. A risky idea that, unfortunately, didn't pay off. The snake slipped through Paul's grasp and disappeared into the murky waters. He estimated that it had to be over 20 feet in length. Whether or not it was Chumana, he couldn't confirm.
What I saw down there was something I've been waiting for years.
But soon, Paul managed to catch a break.
Oh, what's this? Oh my god.
While reviewing the camera traps from the night before, they caught a giant anaconda on video. Paul and his team were now convinced that the best way to find Chumana was during the night. A dangerous idea since most animals hunt during the night, but it might be their best chance of finding Chumana. Again, they searched the rivers and the forest floor for any sign of Chumana, and they once again found another anaconda track, one that was bigger than the one they found earlier. Whatever was here must be close. And it was. They found another snake by the river's edge, and Paul and his team tried to catch it. But, unfortunately, just like his expedition 6 years ago, the giant snake slipped through Paul's grasp and disappeared into the murky waters. He was convinced that what he saw was Chumana.
It's so difficult to see what you've been searching for years and have it slip right through your fingers.
But then, all of a sudden, Paul's expedition was cut short. The rain season had come in, making it too dangerous to continue their hunts, and they had to abandon their search. Sadly, Paul never found Chumana, and they had to leave the floating forest, defeated and empty-handed. But the special isn't over yet. We came here to see a man get eaten by a snake, and that's exactly what we're going to see. Paul and his team would later arrive at a new location to conduct what we're all here for, to watch him get eaten alive by an anaconda. The snake that they used was a slightly smaller green anaconda with a length of 20 feet. Regardless, Paul was ready to enter the jaws of this creature, and he began to suit up. The suit itself was engineered specifically for this experiment. It consisted of a biometric vest to monitor his heart and respiratory rate, as well as his core body temperature. A Tychem suit to protect him from the snake's gastrointestinal acids. Chainmail was used to protect him from the snake's teeth. A mask was worn, allowing him to breathe and communicate with his team when he's inside the snake. He wore a composite helmet that mimicked the texture of snake's prey, included with cameras so we can see the snake's insides. The armor itself was made up of a lightweight carbon fiber and was able to withstand pressures up to 300 psi. And lastly, they covered him with pig's blood to make him more appealing to the snake. Paul was suited up and was ready to go.
I guess we're ready, huh?
But before going for the snake, Paul made a drastic decision. He asked the crew if they could remove the armor around his forearms and lower legs. His reasoning for doing so was because he wanted better mobility and it would help him control the snake. This was not recommended by the crew, and they spent some time trying to talk him out of it. But eventually, they gave in to his request and removed the armor around his forearms and legs. They are now completely exposed, but his vitals are still protected. Now, he was really ready for the snake.
I guess we're ready, huh?
Paul went forward trying to entice the snake to eat him. The snake would retaliate and bite at Paul's head and arms a couple of times. Eventually, after many more minutes of enticing the snake, It would grab hold of Paul and take him down to its level. He was now face down in the mud, with his arms pinned to his sides. His breathing became labored, his heart rate was high, and the suit started to flex as the snake began to constrict. This went on for what felt like forever, until finally, the snake began to go for his head. This is it. We're about to see a man get eaten by a snake. But then, all of a sudden,
You okay? My arm.
Paul felt that his arm was about to break and called off the stunt before it could get worse. Everyone ran in to get the snake off Paul, and they got him to safety. The constriction was so strong that not only did his arm torque, but it also cut off blood circulation and almost caused nerve damage. But Paul and the snake were fine. They let the anaconda go back into the wild where it belongs, and Paul began to pack up his things, defeated, but still determined to, at some point, find the real snake they were looking for. And that was the end of Eaten Alive. No one was seriously injured, but also, no one was eaten.
Disappointed!
Yeah, not surprisingly, people were not happy with this outcome. Eaten Alive was viewed by over 4 million people that night. 4 million people that were left disappointed, and they wanted everyone to know that. Mega Week would begin not with a bang, but with backlash, with all of the backlash targeted directly at Paul Rosolie.
I don't know if you have any plans for the next special, but I would like to see you have sex with a hippo.
Wow, well, I'm
Maybe, I don't know, possibly make out with a rat.
Well, I have to say that's
Think about the forest, the rainforest, Paul.
Yeah, Paul, think about the rainforest.
You know, a lot of scientists didn't want to deal with me. PETA came out after me because they said I was trying to hurt snakes, and then America didn't like it because I didn't actually get eaten. So I got it from all ends. I pretty much had to Chappelle myself and go to another country. So I went and stayed in India because after that it was just the media was just killing me.
Eventually, people would move on, and Mega Week would continue as planned. And overall, it was okay. Honestly, it was pretty forgettable, with the only standout being Eaten Alive. Well, that, and this one episode of Naked and Afraid with special guests Seth Rogen and James Franco.
You really shaved everything, huh? Just soak it in. Boom. Out of the way.
So, that happened. And it must have been successful, because they did another one the following year. But overall, it was pretty forgettable.
Yeah, and what was even funnier is that before the show, people were angry. They're going, how could you do this to a snake? Stop this show. This shouldn't happen. And then after the show, they were going, the show didn't go far enough. The show didn't go far enough.
You can never please anyone. That's, I think, the moral of the story.
But there's a lot more to the story than what we saw, or what we didn't see. Remember from earlier, they said that this special was made to bring awareness to the destruction of the rainforest and preservation efforts. Well, here's the thing. The special was 2 hours long. Minus the amount of time for commercials, it was about 1 hour and 25 minutes. But guess how much of that time was spent on discussing rainforest preservation? Less than a minute. A short bit near the beginning and an even shorter bit at the end just before the credits. So, Paul barely said anything about the rainforest. And remember, this is a guy who has dedicated his entire life to protecting the rainforest. He is passionate about this place and its inhabitants, as you can see from his work. And at times, he's even put his own body on the line.
I mean, I have tiger bites through my fingers. I have scars all over my body. I almost got crushed to death by an elephant writing this book.
So for him to go on to this 2-hour-long special and say next to nothing about rainforest preservation is a bit strange. Why was that? Well, according to Paul himself, he did have a lot more to say. We just never saw those segments because the Discovery Channel cut them out. Eaten Alive was filmed over a 6-week period. And within those 6 weeks of traversing the rainforest, They got not only footage of animals and wildlife, but they also got footage of deforestation, poaching, and illegal gold mining. Factors that contribute to the declining rainforest, and these were subjects that Paul and his team filmed and were going to discuss during Eaten Alive. We never saw them because Discovery cut those segments out.
I got an education in like getting screwed by Hollywood. Somehow they changed our voices, they changed the things we said, they changed the message of the film. They basically were like, we'll give you a 2-hour special. You can talk about ecology and conservation and do science, all that shit. They're like, just at the end, do this stunt. And if you do that, we'll give you a $3 million budget. We'll fund your research. We'll do this and and we'll do a huge fundraiser for the forest so you can protect the habitat. Blah, 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 blah. It was a huge train wreck. They changed everything. They didn't record any of the science. I mean, they did. They in the field they recorded all the science. We got to the studio, they threw all that out. They just put all the the blood and the craziness and the fear.
We're losing forests in Indonesia, in Africa, in India, all over the world. I mean, rainforest.
But not only were some segments cut out, some segments were even faked for drama.
At one point, I had a producer call on a sat phone, and the guy calls me and he goes, "Listen," he goes, "we need a danger beat. We need to lead out to the commercial. You're gonna notice that there's black piranha in the river." And he goes, "You're gonna tell everyone to pull the boat over, and then you're gonna take a bucket of blood and pour it into the river, and then you're gonna safely bring your people around the threat." And I went, "How would a piranha hurt us in a boat? Huh?
Mhm.
Next, where am I going to get a bucket of blood?" In the end, what they made us do is they made us get in a stream and pretend that we were having an encounter with an electric eel. And so, like, I had my friends like up to their chests in this stream, and I had to be like, "Whoa, guys, hold on," and like, "Let's get out." And like, you can see that we're all acting. We're not.
Right.
It looks stupid. When you find yourself flown to LA as a 23-year-old dude, and you're sitting there with some guy, who's like spinning a pen and got his feet up on the desk and going, "What can you show us down there?" And you go, "I could show you the biggest anacondas in the world, and we could talk about mercury and bioaccumulation, and we could show people how these animals are misunderstood, and we go on a big expedition, and we could be the coolest show ever." And he goes, "Yeah, not good enough." Someone at some point in one of those meetings said, "What if we show people that anacondas really can eat humans?" And I went, "How is that a good show? You want me to feed someone to an anaconda?" And I kind of joked, like, what if, I was like, the only way that's feasible is if you like make a suit with a breathing apparatus and let the snake eat you and then come back out safely and make sure you don't hurt the snake. And they were like, "Kid, you're on." And I was like, "Oh, They didn't show me the film until the night before I went on Matt Lauer's show. And I said, "I am not endorsing this film." And they had called it Expedition on the call sheet. They'd called it Expedition EA, Expedition Amazon. All of a sudden, they changed it to Eaten Alive. And I went, "Wait, guys, wait. I said, "You're going to make people think that it actually happened, not that we're attempting it." And then they called me and they said, "You're going on live TV tomorrow." They said, "You let us know what level of control we need to show for you," right? It was a very threatening phone call. And so I had to go out and smile for the cameras and endorse something that was a train wreck.
So, what's Paul Rosolie been up to now? Well, in 2015, he would create Jungle Keepers, a nonprofit organization in Peru dedicated to saving the rainforest. He would also go on to help out other nonprofit organizations, and his conservation efforts have spread from Peru to Brazil all the way over to India and Indonesia. In 2019, he would write his second book, he would appear as a special guest in TV shows and documentaries, and he still continues to write articles and give presentations for saving the rainforest. In fact, here he is speaking at the United Nations in 2022. So he's still out there, doing everything he can to save the rainforest. But he's doing it his own way. A way that doesn't involve ridiculous stunts or working with TV networks. A way that has worked really well for him in the end. Overall, Paul Rosolie got involved in one of the most overhyped TV specials to air, received death threats from people all over the world, and got chewed out over social media, all because he wasted 2 hours of everyone's time. And while he still gets people to this day who berate him for his stunt, he didn't let it get him down.
I took a swing. You know what I mean? I took a swing and it missed, but you gotta try.
He picked himself back up and got back to doing what he loves the most. Protecting the rainforest and its inhabitants. A cause that he continues to fight for to this day.
Every now and then somebody will still be like, "Hey, the anaconda guy." And it's like, yeah, how much forest are you protecting? What's the biggest thing you ever did? What's the biggest thing you ever sacrificed to try and protect something you love? I go to the jungle and you start seeing these beautiful places, these incredible species. You start developing a relationship with these animals, and then you watch it get destroyed. Every year, we watch it burn. Every year, places that are crucial to my soul, I have seen leveled and turned to ash. This place isn't foreign to me anymore. It's home.
He wants people to see that these giants are out there. He wants to bring conservation efforts here, and he knows that he can only do that by showing people something so incredible that people are just, we need to do something about this now.
The Amazon doesn't take anything away from our planet. The Amazon produces, it's like an engine that gives us life. It's producing 1/5 of our clean water. It's producing 1/5 of the oxygen we have. Nothing that you're interested in is going to happen if you can't breathe the air and drink the water. Nature is incredibly resilient, but you have to allow it to bounce back.